Good evening. We are glad that you are joining us for this CBF gathering. We pray that this time together is meaningful and inspiring. While we long to be together in person, we are grateful for this time to come together with you in fellowship. So welcome. My name is Nell Green, and I serve as the Offering for Global Missions advocate. CBF Global Missions works to create a culture in which mission can thrive and flourish, upholding core beliefs, collective vision, and social values, as well as the sharing of material resources, allowed stakeholder, participant, and leader alike to come together and be change makers in the world. Furthering a culture of abundance rather than a culture of scarcity undergirds that biblical principle of God's extravagant love and generosity towards all of humankind. A culture that creates space for mission to flourish and thrive celebrates the activity and impact of our CBF field personnel around the globe, as well as their partners. All over the world, CBF field personnel are addressing global poverty, global migration, and global church. It's a culture that is welcoming, dignifying, and collaborative. It's a culture that shares space for us together to bear witness to Jesus Christ, to seek transformational development, and to cultivate beloved community. Space for sharing is experienced as we are helped to understand and articulate God's working in the world through global missions, education, promotion, and holistic engagement of our CBF community allows for a flourishing, thriving culture where there is common purpose and vision. Space for sharing in this culture, in these mission distinctives, is created as we come together on bended knee. Together, we believe God. Together, we seek God. Together, we find God. We experience unity as the Holy Spirit binds us together in purpose and call, whether stakeholder, participant, or leader. Tonight, you will meet my colleagues, Mira and Sasha Zivanoff. Mira and Sasha serve the refugee and immigrant community in and around St. Louis, Missouri. Long-term presence of field personnel allows them to engage and relate to the communities and the cultures surrounding them. This long-term presence is funded through the Offering for Global Missions. Space for sharing in this culture where mission thrives is created as we give to the Offering for Global Missions. Giving allows for any and everyone to creatively invest not just in transformative work, but in relational connections and mutual friendship. This year's goal for the Offering for Global Missions is $3 million. This goal funds the long-term presence of 61 field personnel. Many of you engage on a personal level with field personnel as you give to the mission programming that goes on in their particular locations. Thank you. Thank you. Mission programming occurs as field personnel can be present to engage in relationships, in partnerships, and cultural learning and adaptation. It allows them to be present to individuals, to churches, to partners, to the community in which they serve. Available on the CBF website are resources for the Offering for Global Missions to be used in your context. There are videos, printable resources, many downloadable resources for your convenience. You might consider inviting one of our field personnel to come and join you, whether virtually or in person, for your small group or to join your congregation. Thank you for creating a culture where mission flourishes and thrives. Thank you for giving to the Offering for Global Missions.
Chicken who?
When we came to United States, it was really hard for us. We came to Salt Lake City, Utah. We was crying because we could not find jobs. We called our family, my uncle who lives here in St. Louis, and we talked to him, and that's how me and my husband decided to move over here. St. Louis is good for us, for my kids, I think, because there is a lot of Bosnians. There is always somebody who can translate for us.
We met Mirsada in 2004, and right away we started talking about the gospel, and they got interested. So they was coming like every Saturday on our Bible classes.
My biggest hope is for my kids to go to school, to finish school. I lived in Bosnia. I never had opportunity to go to school. My husband, he never been to school. And we know how hard it is without education. This kid, I tell them, you need to take advantage, you're gonna need it. That's the good thing about United States. They give opportunities to everybody.
My name is Jessica Hearn, and I am CBF field personnel serving in Danville, Virginia, with the intentional Christian community called Grace and Main Fellowship. Grace and Main has been doing radical hospitality for a little over 10 years now, and that hospitality started with a challenge from one of our brothers. You see, about 10 years ago, we were helping one of our friends who had been experiencing chronic homelessness for over a decade. And we were moving him into his first shelter in a very long time, his first place of his own. And we got him moved in, and we got him some furniture so that he would be comfortable and he could start to make a home. And some of our leaders went back to check on him the next day after his first night in his new apartment. And there was someone sleeping on his couch. And we were concerned because we were afraid that somebody was taking advantage of our friend that we had just helped move into this place. And so one of our leaders asked him, he said, "Brother, is everything okay?" And what he said changed the course of Grace and Main for the next 10 years, because what our brother said to that leader was, folks need a place to stay. And that challenge brought us to where we are today. Grace and Main is an intentional community of radical hospitality, and we express our hospitality in a variety of ways. One of those is that we operate a network of hospitality houses throughout the city of Danville. And a hospitality house is a place that is owned or rented by somebody connected to the community. And they set aside a room or a space of some sort for people who need hospitality. We have 6 hospitality houses. Many of them have a room where somebody who needs shelter can be invited to stay. And some of those rooms can be used for short-term hospitality, for somebody who needs a few days of shelter. And some of them are for longer term, somebody who needs help getting back on their feet, who needs somewhere to stay for months or maybe even a year or more. We also have spaces where, you know, if somebody needs to come and take a shower or sit and drink a cup of coffee or get out of the heat for a few hours in the very hot summer days that we experience here in Southern Virginia. We have spaces for that, for somebody to knock on a door and say, "Hey, can I come and sit for a while?" or to knock on a door, as some of our friends did recently before everything shut down. He knocked on the door and he said, "Can I have a favor?" And I said, "Of course, sure." And he said, "Can I have a cup of coffee?" Yeah, of course you can have a cup of coffee. And then he said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, I'm making dinner." "Oh, what are you making?" And it happened that day I was making a big pot of vegetable stew. So I said, "Well, it's a vegetable stew." And he said, "Can I have some?" So sometimes our hospitality is a place where somebody can knock on the door and just out of the blue come and share dinner with us. Radical hospitality in Grace and Maine is about making room for people. It's about making room not only in our homes, which we do, but also making room in our lives for people, people who sometimes need somebody to listen and they don't have anybody else to listen. Making room to sit down with a cup of coffee and share life and share experiences and build relationships. So that's what we mean at Grace and Maine when we say that we are extending hope and hospitality. And so I'm excited to share this with you today, and thank you for coming to our Grace and Maine Urban Farm here. This is one of our places where we offer a quiet place in the middle of the city for people to come and enjoy the peace of being outside, being in a green space, getting your hands dirty. It's another form of making room for people who want to learn how to grow things and want to spend time in God's creation. It's enjoying being outside and being surrounded by green and by flowers and by birds. And I want to thank you also for extending hope and hospitality by giving to the Offering for Global Missions. The OGM offering supports my presence here in Danville, and it supports the presence of field personnel extending hope and hospitality around the world.
Good evening, Cooperative Baptist Fellowship. It is a privilege to say hello to you from the sanctuary of Oxford Baptist Church. I am Chris Aho, the pastor of Oxford Baptist Church, and I'm excited to get to share with you a little bit about our Offering for Global Missions experience and our Encourage Your Church relationships. Tomorrow night, we as a church will Zoom with field personnel Matt and Michelle Norman, who are in Barcelona, Spain. That's something that we never would have thought about doing a year ago. And in fact, this is the 5th Wednesday night in a row that we have done something like this. Something that truly would have been mind-boggling just 12 months ago. Before this year, as we've all learned how to Zoom and shoot videos with and for one another, when it came to a church like ours visiting with missionaries, that was something that happened maybe once a year or so. But now, getting to talk to our missions partners, 5 of them in 5 weeks, is truly amazing. I wish I could tell you that some 5 years ago, we had this dream to have 5 or 6 or 7 Encourage Your Church relationships, and that this is just the fruition of an amazing goal that we had set. But it wasn't that way. We had always supported the Offering for Global Missions. We've always done our part to take care of following the prayer guides and the prayers for the people, like you do. But really 5 years ago, what we had was a Women on Missions organization in our church that really held the missional consciousness of our congregation and kept us active. We had a men's group who was interested in a new project. And then we had what really was almost a chance encounter to help us see something that we couldn't have seen before. Back in the summer of 2015, instead of doing our regular Wednesday night stuff, we did a series of brown bag lunches. We had 3 or 4 of them. We had guest speakers come up, tell us about what they were working on, what they were doing. And all of them were good, but I don't remember what they were, except for the one with Mark and Kim Wyatt, who came up from Raleigh to tell us about their new assignment in the Triangle and how they hoped and dreamed that their new assignment might play out in partnerships with churches like ours, and might play out in the development of a Welcome House ministry. All of this was benign enough. It went according to plan until the very end, when Mark says to our Baptist men's director, Steve, maybe you could build a bunk bed for us. I bet you could help us with that. Now, Steve was more than capable of doing such a thing. However, he wasn't a bunk bed engineer. Nevertheless, the Spirit wouldn't let him go. And so after a few weeks of thinking about it and trying to put it out of his mind, he finally went into his garage, got some 2x4s, and built a prototype for a bunk bed. It was just a few short weeks later that many of the Baptist men, Steve, Leonard, Guy, John, Frank, another Steve, James, Charles, Danny, and even others, went to work in their wood shops and began building bunk beds for apartments and for anyone connected to the Wyatts who needed them. By the end of 2015, we were known as the Bunk Bed Church, and after refining our design, we went on to pass that design on to several other churches and started the work of building ramps in our community, drywalling the baseball of Welcome House, and eventually partnering with disaster relief efforts to rebuild Bats Chapel Missionary Baptist Church following a huge flood in 2016, thanks to Hurricane Matthew. But all of this stuff started with that hunch. Maybe you could build us a bunk bed. So our women held the ministries for us. They kept missions in our consciousness. Our men went to work with these active projects of actually building things. And then in 2014, which happened before this, but didn't come to fruition until after, the church received a significant estate gift. We spent a year discerning how it is we might use this gift and eventually establish an endowment with the foundation that allows us to each year give significant funds to support mission projects that we are engaged in. And this has included in recent years the development of new partnerships with CBF Global Field personnel from around the world. For several years now, we've been able to contribute to the program ministry budgets of field personnel. And these gifts started with a chance conversation in the hallway at a General Assembly, or a call. They told us they were going to be in the area and wondered if they could come by on a Wednesday night. And each chance encounter has led to a mutual relationship for support, for communication, for care, and for prayer. It didn't happen overnight, but it's grown through trying to be faithful. It wasn't a part of a big plan or a huge dream. It was merely the result of our women on mission, keeping missions in our consciousness, our men physically engaging in tangible missions, and then a partnership with the foundation that helps us use finances to make a huge difference around the world. And that difference, that impact is felt around the world, and it's felt in our congregation as well. A few years ago, we had no idea that these partnerships were what was ahead of us. We didn't know we were going to rebuild a missionary Baptist church following a hurricane. It seemed impossible that a Wednesday night would include videos from San Francisco or Barcelona or Tokyo or a video call at all for a church. It was just unthinkable. However, faith, as we know, sometimes brings us to things we never could have imagined. God doesn't give us the whole blueprint or path. Instead, by committing to follow faithfully, we explore and experience amazing things. So through our historic relationship with the Offering for Global Missions, partnerships and encourager church relationships have come. For that, we are abundantly grateful. This is an exciting time to live. It's been a really, really hard year. However, there are amazing possibilities unfolding in front of us all. And I pray that for you, just like us, partnerships will come and that we will feel the call of God, not just to bunk beds and welcome houses, but to all the places where God can call us to fruitfully connect for the kingdom. That's the amazing thing about how God works through missions, through churches, and through the offering for global missions. Unique partnerships come that we could never imagine, but for which we can only say thanks be to God. My prayer for our whole fellowship tonight is that we all might discern and discover how God is leading us into new partnerships, so that a few years from now, you can be the one telling this story, and I can be the one hearing it and proclaiming, thanks be to God.
Hello, my name is Elizabeth Mukasa. I am originally from Nairobi, Kenya, but I'm currently a student at the McAfee School of Theology. My first encounter with CBF was through the work that Jade, Sheila, and Missy were doing at Refuge and Hope. I first joined the Refuge and Hope community in 2015. This was when I had applied for a job as a social worker. Coming in, I did not know what to expect. And I actually thought I might not stay for that long. But then when I got to see the work that we did daily and I saw the impact that it had on the people's lives, I was totally sold into their mission. I saw women coming in who could not articulate themselves or read or write, but after doing the English classes, after several months, they were able to speak with confidence and read their Bibles and do what they needed to do to get by in life in Uganda. I saw young men who did not know what to do with their lives, but through the training and just the classes that they had at the Center of Hope, they were able to learn so much more about what it means to live a life of wholeness. This is what lasting impact in the community does. When people are committed long term to stay in the community, relationships like these are able to be fostered. After several years of working in the community, Missy was able to start Amani Sasa, which has just extended the work that was being done at Refuge and Hope. The impact that the young women have had, people who were abused before, find hope and are taught about God's love and are able to stand confidently and just be who God made them to be is so beautiful to watch. One of the verses that has led the work at Refuge and Hope has been Psalm 46, and it has become one of my favorite verses. God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in time of trouble. And this not only spoke through the work that they did, but it also speaks because they are constantly present there to speak into the lives of so many people who do not have hope. Actually, this past fall, I had a special opportunity to take part into the work that is happening in Uganda, even with the pandemic. I was accepted into the Student.Go internship program, and I was working with Missy at Amani Sasa. Through the Student.Go program, my mind just expanded on what mission looks like. I was able to learn what it is like to fundraise for an organization when you're miles away. I was able to learn from other people in seminary who were like-minded and were serving in different parts of the world. Just being able to engage with meaningful conversations from field personnel who are serving with CBF was just a good way to broaden our minds. I would love to take this opportunity to say a big thank you for the offering for global missions, because such work is not possible without that support. One of the most meaningful things during that time was being able to see that in this broken world there is hope, and our hope can be found in us being the hands and feet of Jesus Christ. And there is no better way of doing that and showing that than by practically engaging with people. I will use the Swahili word to say thank you, and it is asante sana. Have a nice evening, and God bless you all. Bye-bye.